So I'm going to start by saying that I have no unicorns in my presentation. So I'm sorry about that. There's actually no GIFs or memes either. So if that's what you came for, you're in for a lot of disappointment. One day I hope to talk as fast and have as many slides as Larry, but I do not travel the world discussing paid search topics, contrary to what Will said. So bear with me. I usually stay in this little Seer bubble, but I'm really excited to be here. And like I said, I don't travel a lot. And you might think that I'm familiar. You've probably seen me on the Seer homepage. That's me. We're hiring. Also, if you haven't been to the Seer site and you actually don't have any idea who Seer is and you're like, my friend just dragged me here, you probably know my friend. This is me and Marky Mark hanging out just on a casual Friday afternoon. I don't know if you guys saw downstairs, but the burgers are actually opening up a shop. So Mark was here over the summer, and me and a couple of our Seer team members and our stalking skills spent the better half hour of our lunch period for him, and I was super aggressive and got this picture. We're basically best friends, and we do we do a lot of cool stuff here at Seer, like hanging out with celebrities. But we also do some really, there we go. So welcome to the Seer kitchen. We actually do a lot of fun stuff. We cook up a lot of different things. So I'm actually going to do a cooking demonstration today and not a paid search presentation. No, I wish. But I won't have a bottle of wine, unfortunately, or a bowl of pasta, but we will be cooking up some cool paid search testing. So I'll just get right into it. And what I'm going to be talking about today is testing. So it's something that we're really passionate about here in Seer Interactive, and it's something that we're constantly talking about and constantly doing and constantly thinking about. But really, I want to take a step back, and I really want to start to make sure that we understand what it is that we're testing, why we're testing, how we're testing, and are we being effective? Because in a world that's constantly go, 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 and always on the move, similar to like what Larry said, things are always changing, I want to make sure that we're being proactive and not reactive, and making sure that we're setting up things for success and having an efficient strategy. So kind of just starting with a poll, like how many people in here would say that you're definitely strategically testing? Like a marginal amount. Okay. Some people are like, maybe I am. Does anybody like actually understand what I mean when I say strategically testing? Some people like a little bit, yeah, but you're not doing it. Yeah. Okay. So I kind of took a poll of some PPC marketers, and I kind of asked them, like, what are your testing philosophies, and what is it to you that is a strategic test? And I got answers all across the board, which is what I kind of expected. A lot of people said, like, I just test things because I want to test them and things outside of the box. Some people are saying, I do things. I don't test just to test, but, I want to show direct impact. Answers were kind of all across the board, and nobody really had a clear strategy or clear foundation on what it is actually doing. So that's really why I kind of wanted to hone in on this and kind of talk about it and take a step back, kind of get to the building blocks and the basics of testing to set up a success in the future. So strategic testing is actually, at least according to Wikipedia, which is really super trustworthy, they're always correct, but it's actually rooted in software development. I don't want to get hung up on that too much, but it's also like, it's a really rigorous process, and it's like a really detailed and engaging environment where they have like super detailed plans and documents and tests and setups and all of this rigorous data. And I think a lot of it can actually be applied to paid search. So these are real like test plans that a developer would do if they were going from market to beta and kind of researching and testing their products, like a very detailed list of some of these key things that they must complete. I think a lot of these things should and could be applied to our paid search testing, such as features to be tested, pass or fail criteria, scopes and objectives. Think about like your KPIs. What is your goal? Is your conversion rate goal? What is your pass fail criteria? What does success look like for you? Testing measurements and things like that. So I think, don't want to get too in the weeds with this, but I just want to like set this up as a framework of kind of what it is that we're going to be doing. So kind of the objective of this whole presentation is really to reshape the way you're thinking about and approaching testing to make sure that it's the most effective for you and your campaign, so you're going back and you're seeing strong results. So regardless of your level of testing expertise and what you said regarding if you're strategically testing, I think this is kind of framework that everybody can use, whether you're SEO, design, PPC, C-level, or day-to-day in the weeds. Let's get right into it, and starting with why testing is important. I don't think that this is a surprise to everyone or anyone. So if you're in digital, you kind of know, you've always seen this. Google makes major AdWords changes. Google changes mobile. Latest trends in mobile, what you need to know. Google removes the right write rail ads, and everybody freaks out. This is not uncommon. We work in digital, and it's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. It's constantly moving. Same with businesses. Businesses change every day. Goals change. Priorities change. Competitors change. There's constantly new things in play and new things to test, new things to try. So it's important to stay up on our toes, making sure we're evolving with the trends, making sure we're testing new things that come out. And we're also testing because we never know what's really going to happen. So this is a client that we had, and we needed to increase their click-through rate. And we're like, all right, cool. How are we going to do that? They have a pretty robust offer on their site, the 20% off all the time. And we weren't promoting that in our ads. And we're like, well, duh, we need higher click-through rates. Obviously, we're going to give them a deal. So we ran this test, free shipping versus 20% off. And contrary to what you might believe, this ad actually outperformed the promotional ad with a 37% click-through rate versus a 25% click-through rate for the other. So just keeping that in mind is you never know the outcome. You never know what you're going to get. So, of course, testing is important. Also, we want to leverage the data. Paid search is this awesome industry where we get this thing called real-time data. So we can see these immediate changes based on what you did 2 or 3 days ago, which is one of the biggest things that drew me to paid search when I first started. So being able to leverage that data with other people in the industry and vice versa, leveraging their knowledge and their insights with what you're doing is going to make you a really successful paid search marketer. So this is kind of understanding your role of kind of where you fit in. You can talk to the sales team, understand what their goals are, talk to the customer, what are their pain points, what are they trying to do, talk to the SEO team, what are they doing, what do they know, and sharing this information, because as you have these conversations and you start unsiloing yourself, you're going to start really learning some big insights that you might have missed otherwise. Fortunately, we're lucky enough at Seer, we actually have an in-house SEO team. We work really closely with them a lot across clients, and this is one example of where paid search actually informed SEO. So we do a lot of ad copy testing for one of our clients here in the bridal industry, and they are, constantly updating tests, and we consistently got the same winner again and again and again. This ad copy was like crushing everything else. It was doing so well. Click-through rates were awesome and out of this world. So we actually had some Seer team members, Alexis and Teresa and Allie, and they kind of took that information from the paid search ads, and they were like, well, we're going to update our SEO meta descriptions and see what happens. They say it works well for them. Let's see what it does for us. So it turns out 70% increase in click-through rate from the pages where they implemented the ad copy in their meta descriptions for SEO. And directly, they could kind of tie back $17,000 in revenue. So testing is important. Everybody should be testing. We all know that, and we all understand that. And what we can get out of testing is super valuable. But I really want to make sure that when we are doing these tests, we're doing them effectively, and we're not just kind of throwing crap in the air and seeing what happens. So why we always start with the why. So I really want you guys to understand that when you're testing, there should always be a why, and why we're doing this is really going to be effective for you. So we test to solve problems. We are testing solutions to a problem, not an idea. So we are not testing something because we think it's going to be cool. We're testing because it's going to be a result to solve a problem that you're having. Albert Einstein, who's super, super cute. I imagine I look like that when I wake up. He said if I had an hour to solve the problem, I'd spend 55 minutes defining it. So I think that we can apply this to paid search when we're thinking about what it is that we're going to test. It's not what we're going to test and figure out how to set it up for 5 minutes. We really need to be digging in and be like, okay, what is the problem I'm having and what am I actually trying to accomplish? And that's what you want to focus on and spend the majority of your time. So again, I asked these same paid search marketers, and I kind of pulled the audience, and I said, all right, so why are you testing? Like, what inspires you to test? And I get answers all across the board. Some people said they saw a new beta. Some people said, I don't know, I think I should just like refresh my settings, so let me try something new. Some people said client direction. We get that from our bosses or our clients, like, we need to try this. Again, these are all fine reasons and like ideas and like things to maybe ignite a test, but they're really not a sole reason why you should be testing. So back to those testing philosophies, I actually had 2 responses that said they test to address an issue, and they identify a purpose for creating a test. So thrilled to see that. I want to see 200 of those next time. So hopefully this gets us there. So you need to start asking the why before the what. Again, starting the conversation and asking why before, why is this headline not working versus what should I change my headline to? Reshaping the conversation and reshaping the way you think about what you're launching. If a client comes to you and says, I want to do a remarketing test, and you're like, okay, cool. No, Okay, cool. Why? I don't know, because it looks like it's a good thing to do. No, the answer should be I want to do a remarketing test because I need to increase my retention and upsell clients or upsell products. So this thing is really awkward, and I'm sorry. I think I just messed something up real bad. Okay. So don't think about what you should test. Start thinking about why your current test isn't working. So how do we do that? Identifying the problem. So that's where you start. And I want you guys to kind of think about this. This is really the cornerstone of everything. Like I said, the problem and the why. So think of it as this funnel where the problem, the hypothesis, the goal, they're all kind of swirling around together and working interchangeably to give you the why you should be testing. So starting with the goal, this is the objective of your test, what you are trying to achieve and what success is going to look like. So this is what you should be asking yourself before you start. If I launch this campaign, what do I hope the end result is going to be? So some things like we said in the past is like, I read a blog post and like, I don't know, it sounds cool, or competitors doing it, so I have to do it. Like those are definitely, good things to understand. Like Larry Kim just told me I should do it, so I'm going to do it. Like I was really glad that you said you have some optimism for paid search. Because I thought that we were going to have to talk everybody off the ledge. And like, no, still search, just social. So these are not goals. An example of a goal would be something like, I want to increase my AOV, or I need to improve my quality score, or my click-through rate sucks, I need to increase it. These are goals. Goals are something that you can directly tie back to success. If it's not something that you can tie back to success, then it's not a goal. So that's a good way to think about it and something to keep in mind. So this is a client that we have at Seer. They are a photo editing software. They have a really cool free product that a lot of people love and use, but they also have this really cool paid product. So I'm going to kind of use them just as a framework for this example. So the goal, they came to us and they're like, listen, we need to increase our paid subscriptions. Like, we're glad we have these free users, but like the bread and butter is paid subscriptions. So we stated the goal. Now we kind of need to identify the problem. So this is where you really start getting into what's preventing you from achieving that goal. And it might seem pretty basic and pretty primary, but like we need to make sure that we're asking this question and really understanding this before we dive into it. So identifying the goal, why is this not happening? And it's like, I don't know, maybe users are just unaware of the benefits that they actually have to pay for. They think the free is good enough and they don't know the benefits. Or maybe they're just cheapskates and they don't want to pay for it. Or maybe they don't even know you have a paid offer. So these are all examples of problems that you could be addressing to fix. So for this example, we'll just say that users are not aware of the extra benefits of the subscription. Like they just have no clue like what they're actually paying for. Maybe we're not doing a good job of letting them know. So we have the goal, we have the problem. State your hypothesis. This is kind of like part 2.5. So the hypothesis is just kind of rounding it out, just like you learned in science class when you were 12. Our hypothesis is that increasing awareness of the extra benefits, we will increase paid search subscriptions. As easy as that. So this is kind of the framework we have. We have the goal, we have the problem, we have the hypothesis, and next is the solutions. So notice how big the goal and the problem are. That is really where we're focusing, and that's like kind of the bulk of everything. And then it comes the solutions. So the why, and then the what and the how. A lot of people want to start with the what and the how. I want to start with the what and the how, but it's definitely important to understand the why. So part 4, identifying these solutions and tactics. So this is where you get in the really nitty gritty of like what you're actually doing and what the tactics are and what you're going to implement. So think of the solution as the strategy. This is kind of the overarching direction that you're going to do. There can kind of be more than one way to implement a solution. So you can think about it like the bigger overarching idea of how you're actually going to fix it. So some examples could be that a solution to this problem we're having is to use remarketing to promote the benefits of paid search. We have all of these people visiting our site and using the free tool. Maybe we're going to promote the benefits through remarketing, or maybe we need to change the layout and promote the benefits on the landing page that we currently have and start listing them out. These are ideas of solutions, of directions that you could go to address the problem. So for this example, we'll do remarketing. We're going to use that and hit people that already use our free software and tell them all about the paid benefits. So tactics. These are the what you're actually going to implement to carry out the solution that you just decided you needed. So these are really the what you're doing and the very specific. There's only one way to do a tactic. It's a very specific thing. So this could be, we're going to do a free trial in our remarketing ads. Could be one tactic. Or we're just going to highlight different features and show the before and after in our remarketing ads. Or maybe we're going to do remarketing ad and run video ads and actually show them in the weeds what's happening. So you can see very specific strategy now that you have. You have a goal, you have a problem, you have a solution, and now very specific tactics to address it. So you end up, you're saying, I'm going to run the free trial. Ooh. So that's kind of the framework. And that kind of looks like a unicorn. It's colorful, but not quite. So now you kind of get, what the framework is that we're going for and kind of what we're thinking of how we're building a test and how we're going to implement it. So I want to kind of really get into why this is important and why this is how you build an effective test. So goals. Like I said, this is kind of the cornerstone of everything that we've been talking about. And it's really important for you to understand what your goal is in order to be able to accomplish what it is that you're looking and what success means to you. Goals are important for knowing when something has been successful. Goals are important for knowing when to end a test or when a test is maybe inconclusive. So I want to get into that a little bit more with some examples. Question, I asked another question. Do you create a hypothesis and an expected impact statement before every test you launch? And it was like a resounding sometimes. Like maybe, probably not. Some people flat out were like, nope, never do that. So that's not good, guys. Not cool. So hopefully by the end of this, if I polled everybody again in a month, they'd be like, yes, absolutely. I definitely have a hypothesis and a goal that I'm working towards. So really the importance of having a clearly defined goal from the start is because we do a lot of things. We work with a lot of metrics. We see a lot of numbers all the time, and there's always things that could be looked at or changed. So making sure that you have a goal from the start is going to be able to tell you whether or not your test was successful or if it was inconclusive or if it just straight up sucked. You need to know what it is that you're trying to achieve. So this is a client we have. They're an outerwear client, and they sell like jackets and rain boots and all this cool stuff. So they came to us and like, we need to improve our return on ad spend. Like our return on ad spend's low. We need to do something about it. So we kind of hypothesized. We got to the problem is like people are like, people are doing a lot of research. They're like we're paying for them to kind of like jump around and they're not ready to buy. So we need to optimize our bids to make sure that we're reaching people when their intent to buy is strong. So what we're going to do is actually utilize this API thing from AdWords, which actually allows you to change your bids based on the weather. It's really crazy, but like if it's snowing, you can increase your bids. If it's sunny, you can decrease your bids. If it's raining, you can increase your bids. So the thought is, all right, there's a huge storm coming in Houston and we want to, sell rain boots to those people. They're more likely to buy. So let's test it out. So we did. And revenue was up 23% year over year. And we're like, that's awesome. We're so excited. Yay. No. So return on ad spend was actually down 40% year over year. So what this is telling me is that, yeah, despite the increase in revenue, we actually had to pay more to get that traffic. We increased our bids. We were being more competitive. We were paying more money to get that traffic. And yeah, revenue went up, but my cost also went up at the same time. So if you remember, our goal was to increase our return on ad spend. So this failed. This sucked. No, it wasn't terrible. But, had you been somebody that's maybe not as focused on return on ad spend, maybe your margins aren't as tight as this, or you have some room to play, or you just really need to get revenue up and return on ad spend maybe is not as big of a deal, this could be fine. But had we not defined that goal from the start, we could have seen that revenue was up and thought all was good and well with the world, when really we were like slowly killing our return on ad spend. So that's kind of why having an important goal is important to start with. So having a defined hypothesis. You've probably already seen this too. If you've ever run like a ad copy test and you were looking at these ads A and B, and ad A had a 500% higher click-through rate, but ad B had like a higher conversion rate, and you're like, well, I don't know, which one do I keep? Which one do I turn off? Because they're both like performing better. Like that's what you need the goal, because we've all seen that. If you know you need click-through rate, focus on that. If you're looking to fix conversion rate, that's the ad you keep. This is kind of an example of maybe like a not good test. And I'm sure you guys have probably tried this. I know I have in my day. This is an example of where you took description line 1 and you flipped it with description line 2. This is not a test. I'm sorry. Flipping description lines is not a freaking test. Are we so lazy that these people are not going to read 70 characters of text to finish reading that you need to complete your application online? I don't think so. I think this is something that really has no learnings, no actionable insights, no next steps. And there's nothing that I'm taking away from this. I'm not working towards like any strategical goal here. So when you're setting up a test, I want you to ask yourself, like, are there any actual takeaways that I can learn from this test? Start thinking about what's going to give you the deeper learning and what you're going to be able to scale across other areas of the business, other team members. What is that going to tell anybody? Like, oh, people are lazy, and like I think that they like to read that first. Or like, I'm going to change the button from blue to green because like people like green better. Like, that doesn't tell you anything. So make sure that like when you're setting up a test, you actually have a goal and you actually like tie it back and it's actually going to be impactful. Another reason of why I think having a goal is really important is because this is a really big question that we always get. It's like, how do I end a test? Like, I don't know, when do I run a test and how do I end it? And of course, everybody's going to tell you statistical significance. And yeah, that is great. A lot of people here said that they wait till statistical significance. Some people just say, when I feel like I need to run another test or there's enough time has passed and I have enough data. That's fortunately, like, statistical significance is not always an option. I'm sorry, like, we don't all work for enterprise companies. We all don't have endless budgets with endless traffic and all of this time to collect all of this data. Sometimes you see this, and this is an ad tool that we use at Seer to kind of do some testing. 295 more days needed for statistical significance at the current rate we're pacing. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have 295 days to wait for a return. You guys should definitely not have 295 days to run a test. That means your test is not working, and you need to do something else. So I'm not sitting here and saying that don't ever wait for statistical significance. I think it's really important, and I do think that if you can get it and if you have it, awesome. But you need to set benchmarks and understand what it is that you're actually going to work for you. So whether or not it's a 5% increase in conversion rate, if that's good for your business and that works for you, then that's fine. Or if you just want year-over-year growth and it doesn't really matter how big or how small, or if you're just like hoping it doesn't do worse and then you're going to like roll it out, whatever, like, you know your goals, you know your business. So I just don't want you to get stuck up and like, I have to keep running this for another 3, 4, 5 months because I don't have statistical significance yet. If you have a goal and you're reaching your goal, boom. That was for you, Francis. Next is the problem. So really digging into the problem and understanding the importance of this and how you're going to achieve a goal. Because we've talked a lot about like, yeah, I have a goal, but it's really understanding the problem that can kind of get a little bit tricky. And I don't really have a surefire way to always find the right problem, but I'll walk you through some examples of how we kind of identified some problems. So this is a client in the education space that we have at Seer. And we were like, we need to increase conversion rates. Like, we have a really solid traffic. We're getting a lot of people to the site, but our conversion rates are like a little bit low. So what are we going to do about that? We need to identify the problem. So there's a lot of different things that you can start thinking about. Maybe your keywords just suck and people that are coming to the site, they're not your target audience, or maybe your landing page, it's hard to find the form, or you can't find the number, or you're not telling them anything of valuable. There's a lot of different reasons for maybe why your conversion rate's down. So you really need to start digging in. But what we did here, one of our favorite little tools is segmenting data. If you guys haven't used this feature in AdWords, you need to. We can show you how, but basically you can see time of day, day of week, device, top of page, bottom of page. So what we did here, and what we do a lot of times here at Seer, is when we're reviewing performance, is always segmenting the data by device, because as you know, everything's kind of lumped into one, unfortunately, but they don't always perform the same. So you can see here that when we broke the data down, we actually saw the computer, they were doing pretty all right, 4.2%. Tablet, not bad. Mobile, though, 2.38% mobile conversion rate. We're like, wow, that really sucks. But I say suck a lot, I'm sorry. But you can see that the click-through rate is actually really decent. We were driving a good amount of people to the site. So even if we just marginally improve this conversion rate, see a success. So now we have the goal. We know the problem. The problem is mobile conversion rates. So what we need to do, we need to create a mobile landing page. We need to make it easy with large form fields and buttons for people to use. So we did that. We rolled out a mobile landing page, and boom, conversion rate increased to 4.1%. And I don't know if you guys can do the math, but that's a 72% improvement. Just by understanding that the problem was the mobile conversion rate and spending our time and focusing on that. Because Without understanding that mobile was the problem, we could have started throwing things in the air at maybe the desktop page. We could have started testing different keywords. There's a lot of different ways that you could have went about increasing your conversion rate if you're not doing your due diligence and really digging into the data and understanding what the real problem is that you're trying to reach. You're not always going to find the problem right away, and you're not always going to find the only problem or the right problem. There's no magic formula to make sure that you guys are answering that question correctly. Sorry, but some of the things that we like to do to identify the problem, there's device reports like I just showed you, there's time of day reports, there's bounce rates, there's impression share, there's all these different great analyses that you can kind of do to really understand what the problem is. And a lot of times, I also kind of want to say that sometimes identifying the problem really comes before the goal. So that's fine too. Remember, like the funnel, they're all kind of together. You need a goal, but like sometimes you might be doing an analysis and see that you have a problem, and then you're like, okay, now I need to fix this problem. That's when you make a goal. So do keep that in mind. Another way of identifying the problem, like I kind of said earlier, is making sure you're talking to the other teams and leveraging insights from other people. Your point of contact only knows so much, whether you're in the agency or even if you're in-house. There's a lot of times where you're not communicating across teams. It's not because they're trying to hide anything. It's just like, if you don't ask, you don't know. So talk to your other teams. This is an example of a hospice client we have here in Seer Interactive. And our click-through rates were pretty stagnant, and they were pretty low, like across the board, according to like industry standards and what we've been seeing for other clients. And we're like, all right, we need to address this. Like, we need a bump in click-through rate because we got a lot of volume. This is a big client, and they get a lot of volume. So again, just a small increase in click-through rate would have a lot of success for them. So now we have to identify the problem. So we're kind of like all scratching our heads and like, well, I don't know, like maybe if we increase our bids and get a better position, performance would improve. Or maybe if we try new extensions, performance would improve. And we're kind of throwing ideas around. We're like, well, maybe our ad copy is just not the right ad copy. And like, maybe we need to start figuring out how to revamp that. So what we actually did is decided to get on the phone. This is the one and only meme that you guys will get. But so we hopped on the phone with the branding team and the market research team at this client's office. Fortunately enough, they are big enough and they kind of had this insight. But we started talking to them and starting understanding what they're doing. And hospice is a really sensitive subject. Of course, it's like, it's not something that people take lightly. They're looking for comfort. They're looking for support. They want to understand that you understand where they are. They don't care that you're the biggest and the best and the experts and the coolest. Like, they want to know that you're going to support them. So we're like, wow, light bulb moment. Like, of course, that makes so much sense. But like, had we not started talking to them and understanding that that's what they're doing on their end and that's what they're researching, would we have translated that into our ad copy? I don't know. So we had the problem is like, all right, our ad copy does not resonate with this audience. Like, we're just talking about how we're the experts and we're the pioneers and we're the best. So we need to really start figuring out how to reach and touch on their emotional level and get involved with them. So we update our ad copy. We launched a new ads. You can see experts in hospice healthcare, like bleh. Or your comfort, your care, your hospital, like wherever you need us. Like, very emotional, letting them know like we understand. And we saw a 70% higher click-through rate. So that, again, was another example of where we kind of really dug in, tried to understand the problem. Instead of just saying, all right, let's just test some new ad copy. We really sat down, was like, why is our ad copy not working as it stands right now? So again, back to the little funnel, the problem, the goal, the hypothesis, they're kind of all working together to give you the why, which is setting you up for the what and the how. So making sure you're starting with the why versus the what and the how. I know that's super easy to say, and it's super easy for me to sit here and tell you, but I'm guilty of it. I want to start with the solution. I want to start with the strategy. But really, a strategy is only as good as if you know what the problem is that you're fixing. So if you're starting, with the strategy, you don't have anything rooted in data and you don't have anything like rooted in the sound understanding of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So it should always be in a response to a challenge, and it should always be addressing an issue that you're trying to fix. So again, I really wanted to get into the why. We'll touch on this a little bit, just kind of setting you up, reminding you a goal, increase form leads. The problem is they are going to have to click to another page. There's no form on this page. The button kind of blends in. This is not a good experience. So what our solution was for this was to add a form on the field. So I've kind of been touching about solutions and tactics throughout all of these examples, but then just as a reminder of, so Seer's kind of favorite testing tools and tips of kind of setting up a successful strategy now that you understand what it is that you're actually testing. Some ways to set up some successful strategy. So there's these paid tools. Ad Basis is a really cool interface for testing ad copy quickly at scale and seeing real-time results in a really clear dashboard. There's Unbounce and Optimizely for landing page testing. Some really cool stuff there. Have you not have the budget for paying for services or some really free AdWords tools, campaign experiments, or AdWords drafts? They're available in the interface right now, where you can access them, and they help you set up and segment your test and run them. If you guys don't know what those are, you've never used them, hit me up afterwards. I'd be happy to show you and run you through that. And then there's the Seer ad copy analysis tool. I'll actually send that out after the presentation, but it was a screenshot that I showed you earlier of a really good way to easily test your ad tool and track that. And then again, just some tips for setting up a successful strategy and setting up a successful solution. Make sure you're segmenting your test. Make sure you're using rotate evenly. If you're setting up an ad copy test, you don't want to optimize for conversions or optimize through click-through rates right yet until you're able to process the data. Check for or create a testing tracking document. Like, this might seem pretty straightforward, but this is like a super cool way to like easily be able to see what it is that you're testing, what you've done, what your goals were in the past, what problems you've addressed before. Kind of a way to keep you sane and make sure that you're staying on top of things. So in 6 months from now, when a similar issue arises, we're like, what was the issue last time? What did we learn last time? Making sure you're kind of tracking this. And then, like I said, segmenting your audiences, again, structuring your test to make sure that you're going to get the best results. So this is a test that I ran in a Northeast campaign for a client. And you can see the bottom two results did way over baseline and outperformed the existing ad. That same ad copy in the Southwest campaigns actually like plummeted, like they were not good, and it actually didn't do well. So had I not segmented and been looking at the data appropriately, it could have gotten blended in. So keeping that in mind, campaigns are going to differ, whether it's a brand campaign or a competitor campaign where they maybe don't know about you or they're thinking about your competitor, or whether they're like searching for long tail funnel keywords or they're still top of the funnel early in the process journey. So making sure that you're segmenting your test appropriately so you can able to like really look at that data. And with that, I will leave you with my final thoughts. Hopefully this framework is ingrained in your mind in these colors. You will see them when you sleep. I know that I will. But remember, an effective testing is really the goal, then the problem, the solution, and the tactics. The goal and the problem are answering the why, really understanding what it is that you're testing. This is going to be the most important step to really make sure that you're being effective when you test. And then you're going to jump into the solutions and the tactics. Again, once you have the answers, you understand what it is that you're doing, then you're able to set up successful solutions and strategies and tactics, and we all win. And that's all I got.